Moving on to the next subject, and this goes right along with the last point of the whole Chippendale discussion or rant that I just gave. That movie would have done phenomenal at the box office. We'll never know how it would have done, but we do know how things did do at the box office. Here's the top 5 domestic for this past weekend. We had Men coming in at number 5, which I missed. That totally went under my radar. I've never heard of that movie, and I didn't think to click the link and read what it was about before the show because I didn't care that much. That made almost 3.3 million in the first week of release, and I can't give too much thoughts on that because I've never heard of that movie. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 still hanging in there. It was number 3 last week. Now it's moved back to number 4, but still in the top 5. That brought in another 3.9, which is a good haul. I mean, this Men movie just came out. Obviously, I didn't know what that was, so it doesn't have the built-in audience that's going to continue to go back and see these things. I doubt that Men is a kid's movie. And Sonic, even if you already seen it, you might go back again just because your kids liked it or you don't have anything to do. And animated movies always have legs like that, which brings us to, and that was in its 7th week, that brings us to The Bad Guys, which is in number 3, and it was at 2 last week. It brought in 6.1 million in its 5th week of release. Same notes on that I said with Sonic the Hedgehog. These animated movies, they've got legs when there's nothing to see, especially if they're good. And both of those movies I really enjoyed, Sonic and The Bad Guys. I think I like The Bad Guys a little more. Because even though Sonic the Hedgehog was a kid's movie, and you don't have to be like well-versed in the cinematic universe of Sonic to understand the references, I feel like you do enjoy it more probably if you grew up playing the video games and, did they have like books or TV shows or something? I don't know. I know it was a video game, but I wasn't familiar with any of that. And I feel like a lot of the things in there, I mean, people got rowdy in the theater. I mean, as rowdy as people get in a movie theater. It wasn't it wasn't John Krasinski being revealed as Mr. Fantastic, but when the yellow guy showed up, there was like some cheers for that, which, that did absolutely nothing for me. But the Bad Guys didn't have really any established characters or anything. I think that was a fresh movie. It had references, obviously, like everything does, but I just enjoyed that one more, I guess. Maybe 3 next weekend. But I don't think it'll do much better than that. These TV show movies, the only people who are going to see it is people that are like very invested in the TV show already, and they're going to go see it right away. So this isn't going to be one that you're just going to walk into. Like, I have absolutely no interest in seeing this, so I probably won't. If I was like Breaking Bad, that was one I got up for at midnight to watch when the Breaking Bad movie came out. Or the Simpsons movie, or things like that. Simpsons movie, actually, that's not a good example, because that had massive legs, and that ended up being one of the top earners of that year. Sopranos movie, that's a good example. That just came out. It didn't go into theaters, or at least not at a wide release, so we don't really know the numbers on that, but I'd be willing to guess that it got most of its success within the first weekend, because those are the people that are invested in the world of TV and everything like that. So I wasn't sure how popular of a show it was, but I know this TV show thing is becoming a pretty big, they're talking about a whole bunch of different shows coming back. It's kind of becoming a new niche. But I feel like you have to watch the show. As I just said, I'm reiterating myself, but my point is, because I remembered it, the Marvel movies, you could never see a Marvel movie. This is basically the same point I brought up the other night. But you might see a trailer for the Avengers and think, oh, I want to go see that shit. I'm going to go see that shit. You're not going to see a trailer for Downtown Abbey and think, oh man, I got to go watch a whole series and then go see the movie. Because what happens with Marvel is, man, that Avengers looks good, so then you go and see it, and then you want to know all these other movies, so then you're hooked, so you end up watching all 27 movies or however much there is. I can't see anybody saying, man, I got to see that TV show, who hadn't said that over the past 10 years or however long the show's been out, probably longer than that. If you haven't watched it yet, a movie's probably not going to get you to watch it. So $16 million, it's pretty good, but it's expected that it didn't do a whole lot better. And once again, reiterate myself for the last time, I don't think it'll do much better past that. And number one, as for mentioned in the first segment of the show, Doctor Strange, became the number one movie of the year domestically. It made an additional 31.6 just this past weekend. Its total domestic gross is $342 million. Which is a pretty good haul. It's definitely going to cross $1 billion worldwide, which is great to see. And you know that this movie, talk about movies having legs, as I've mentioned, you know that Marvel movies are going to have that. But I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised that this movie has the kind of legs that we're used to seeing from Marvel's. It's only in week 3, and it did have quite the drop. But I would think that the more word of mouth spread about this, the less amount of people would go to see it. In a certain extent. Obviously, it depends on the demographic. But this is not a Marvel movie that you should, take a kid to, obviously. And that's the buzz that people are going to be hearing. And so you probably shouldn't take your kid to that, so then you just wait to don't go see it. But then there's another person who doesn't really like any of the Marvel movies, and they hear that, and they think, oh, man, I got to go see that one. That one sounds awesome. It's that murdery and everything like that. And so I'm actually kind of surprised that it's still doing this good, but at the same time, it is a Marvel, so you can't really be that surprised. So yeah, that's the box office. No big shockers or anything like that. The main thing, though, is what's it going to look like next week. I'll be surprised. Actually, there's no way that Doctor Strange beats Top Gun. And Top Gun comes out this week, right? That's what I've been saying, so I hope that's right, but I've gotten it wrong before. It comes out this week or next, and I think that obviously takes the number one spot. I think they made a good decision waiting to put that in theaters, and I think it's going to make a shit ton of money. It's going to have that kind of Jurassic World energy. The difference between this and the first Jurassic World was there actually is a lot of buzz around this. Critics are saying it's really good. I remember Jurassic World was just coming out. Yeah, that looks cool. Jurassic World's coming back. I thought it was going to be similar to, not the movie itself, but I thought the reception was going to be similar to a modern Terminator or Rambo or one of those other properties. But when it came back, it had the highest opening domestic weekend of all time. It beat Avengers and everything like that. It only kept that title for a couple years, but that blew everybody away. Everybody was so surprised it made that much money, and I think a similar thing is going to happen with Top Gun. Moving on, this is